We are on a little earlier today. Schedules are conflicting a little bit, so we dropped this about 6 hours earlier than normal. So today, the dream is real. We are continuing last week's. We said we were going to go through 37 through 40 last week. We basically only made 37. So the attempt is 38 and 39 for Genesis chapters 38 and 39. Going more over the dreams and interpretations. So, Alex, when you're ready.
Okay, so when he says the chapters we're actually following, it will be loosely the chapters we're following,
Yes.
because things are a little bit different when you look at the Torah. There are no chapter and verses in the Torah. So what they do is they go off of parshas or portions, is essentially what that means. So this week's parsha and next week's parsha, pretty much the end of really the from about November to the end of the year. There's a couple of different things going on. One, you're celebrating the Feast of Hanukkah, which is this week, so Hag Sameach Hanukkah. But you're also talking about the sale of Joseph. You're talking about basically the rest of the Torah. The end of the Torah is the life of Joseph or Joseph. So um, we're not going to talk about celebrating holidays, though. I know everybody wants to know that answer. I will give you that answer at a later date if you have that question. If you do, put it in the comments, and we will answer that accordingly. But holidays are an important thing. Please enjoy Christmas, enjoy the holidays with your family. Being with your family is the most important thing, and we will talk about what the Bible actually says. Because honestly, there's a lot of people out there that have a lot of different things to say about a lot of different stuff that is culturally going on across the globe. And what it means is it kosher? Is it not kosher? Is it good? Is it not good? Is it bad? One thing that we do know is historically, things are not really the way that we thought they were. When we learn those things, a lot of times people run from that stuff to you go from one extreme to the next. We don't want to go from extremes. We want to stay moderate and in the middle. That typically is the best way to live, is live moderately, live in balance, is what I like to say. So off balance would be running from Christmas to Hanukkah, or from Hanukkah over to Christmas, right? But
Right.
living in balance is good. You spending time with your family is the most important part. So if you're asking about holidays, no, I'm not answering that. But what I am saying is you spending time with family is important. So if your culture in your neck of the woods is let's do Christmas, this is a good thing. You should do this. Okay. Okay. Moving on. So I'm gonna kind of back up and do some recapping here. So Genesis 37, or yeah, Genesis 37:36. Um, I have right here. So in English, it says, "And the Midianites sold him into Egypt to Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard." Um, and it may not actually say that in English, but that's how we're interpreting it so far. Okay, but that's coming off of the cusp of last week. If you don't know what I mean by what I just said, go back and watch last week. Pause this, and then you can come back because it'll be up. Okay, so um, it really is kind of closing the chapter 37. There's not much commentary. There's not much reflection. There's really no timeline. And Joseph suddenly disappears into Egypt, and then the Torah goes quiet. And that silence honestly matters. Now, there is another part to this that I'm intentionally skipping over. It's the Yehuda and Tamar, or Judah and Tamar story, which essentially is the inception of where Judah starts to change his mindset on a lot of things, which is why we're going to pause there. We'll come back to that at a later date. Trust me, it's going to be okay. Um, so anyway, Joseph is sold. He's sumptively 20. He's sumptively 17 years old, and this would be Genesis 37:2. He stands before Pharaoh at 30 years old, Genesis 41 through 46. That leaves 13 unaccounted for years. The Torah gives no number of days, no number of years, no silence of pace, no sense of pacing. So why? The, how long was he in prison? Essentially, is the question, right? Um, I'm going to argue because Joseph's transformation is intentional. It's not chronological, and it's internal. Um, so the Torah is less concerned about how long Joseph waited and more concerned with who Joseph becomes. So let's pause there and let's just break this down. Many people that are going to be watching are going to feel a call. Troy, you and I both feel a call to ministry, but you might ask the question, how do we get from point A to point Z, right? That's God's business. And what that looks like may be different for every single person. So Joseph is going through this molding phase, so to speak. Each and every one of us is essentially going to go through that phase. Jesus himself went through a molding phase. You only hear about his life from the birth and everything that happens in Luke's narrative about the birth. Then you move on, and I would argue Luke is probably the one that actually records his. And it may not be, so don't quote me on that, but it's one of the one gospels that does record Jesus being found in the temple, and they ask him, "What are you doing here?" The first we get the first Home Alone scene, so to speak, and Yeshua essentially tells his parents, "Oh, you don't know I'm about my father's business. I should be among my father's things." Now, it's not interpreted that way in the narrative in your actual Bible. However, I'm going to call that the Alexander version of interpreting. I am about my father's business. I am among my father's things. I am supposed to be here because this temple resembles me being Christ, not Alex Todd.
Yeah.
Alex Todd is a complete disaster and a mess. So if you're following me, you're doing something wrong. Follow Christ. Or you can follow me as I follow Christ. I'm not perfect, though, so don't expect anything great. So, that is what I mean by the Torah is less concerned on how long Joseph waited, but he's more concerned with who Joseph becomes. Because in the process of the wait is who you actually become. You become somebody that you are not previously after the wait. And that's essentially what God needed to see in Joseph. God needed to know, Joe, I have a plan for your life, and I'm moving you from one direction to the next. But can you wait and be faithful while I'm working out some kinks, right?
Right.
While, as they say in certain churches, in the refining fire. This is the point of Joseph's life where he's in the refining fire. We don't have time, we don't have a number, but we do know that this is what's going on. So, moving forward, Genesis chapter 40, Joseph meets two officials in prison. He meets the cupbearer, Sarha Mishkim, and the the baker, Sarha Ophim. So they are troubled because they have dreams. Now, I again intentionally skipped over Joseph's dealing with this woman fleeing from her house. We can come back to that another time. Um, so they are troubled because they have dreams, and Genesis 40:8 says, um, "Do not interpretations belong to God? Please tell them to me." So he's essentially saying, "Hey, I can interpret your dreams. Let's have them." Um, so this is a major shift from Joseph. Earlier, Joseph actually tells dreams. He does not interpret them. He centers himself in the dream. He is the middle of those dreams, right?
Right.
Now we see a different Joseph. We see a Joseph who removes himself. He credits God to these dreams. He becomes a servant of meaning. This is not the same Joseph that we saw some in the age of 16, 17 years old. Um, so the cupbearer's dream is of a vine with three branches, and Joseph interprets it positively. He says, three branches are 3 days. So Joseph understands dreams compress time, symbols are not random, and God speaks in patterns. And Joseph is learning the language. So then moving on, we're not going to exhaust everything about the dreams either. And there's so much more, folks. There's so much more about these dreams that are coming about. Concerning the wine of the vine, these types of things going in. There's so much more into all that, and we can cover that land some other time. So the cupbearer's dream mirrors. I'm sorry, the baker's dream mirrors the cupbearer's structure, but it's not the outcome. It's not the same outcome.
Right.
Joseph gives a hard interpretation. This matters. This is important. Joseph does not soften truth to preserve favor. He serves God, not outcomes, right? And so
Right.
this is the way we should be. So essentially, not not serving people for what they can do for us, not being concerned with how people are financially or what financial gain that we can get, but we are serving God intentionally because that's the right thing to do. It doesn't matter what I'm getting out of this, right? I'm not doing
Right.
this. Joseph didn't interpret these dreams because he knew he was getting out of prison, right? He was interpreting these dreams because these dreams were troubling these guys. They wanted to know, what do these dreams mean? And the fact that they even bring them up is a whole other thing, but we'll again cover that ground later.
Yeah.
So in Genesis 40, verse 23, Joseph asks one thing. He says, "Remember me to Pharaoh." Now, he does have an idea of what can happen because these guys come from Pharaoh's palace. Hey, maybe you can give Pharaoh an understanding of who I am. I'm sure there was a point in which Joseph was telling his story about how he ended up there. He's wrongfully accused, blah, 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 blah. But we don't have any Torah for that, so we're not going to make that assumption. But in your own time, you can do that. Um, so then Genesis 40:23 actually says, and this is kind of a funny thing, the chief cupbearer did not remember Joseph and he forgot him. So
Pretty pretty quickly.
um, getting Yeah, very quickly. Yeah. In fact, I believe that there's again some more time there where, Joseph says, "Hey, don't forget me, man. Don't forget me." And then, years go by before Joseph is even pulled out of that prison. And again, Joseph is about the Father's business. He is about being intentional, and he is continuously looking at and looking forward in the way that he works in the prison. So he's still, he ends up becoming a captain, and he's kind of overseeing guys. He's essentially telling guys, "Hey, don't do that," and managing things, and he manages it well.
Yeah.
I want to Joseph in my own way, but anyway, that's beside the point. We're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about him. So the chief cupbearer did not remember Joseph, and he forgot him. And this forgetting is not failure; it's timing. Joseph is not ready yet, and that again is important. It's talking to you when you read things like this. What Israel will tend to do, and what a rabbi would tend to do, is he would liken this to your situation, the viewer that's watching, or Troy and myself. Um, what are you doing in this waiting time? Are you preparing yourself? Are you being intentional like Joseph was? Are you continuing to work hard? Are you continuing to show that you've got, the skills in order to maintain? God is essentially taking you from where you are, running you through this life He's given you to place you where you will be, and to equip you in order to become the person. And it just so happens that if a Joseph is listening, God again is equipping you to make those things a reality. And maybe from Joseph's perspective, this really horrible event takes place. It's almost like Groundhog Day, right?
Yeah.
Uh, you know, First you wake up and you're going down to Dothan and you're looking for your brothers, and then this random guy shows up. He tells you what's up. You go down there, they sell you into slavery, and then you're moving forward into time, and again you kind of start getting good, and you're like the best servant in the house, and then all of a sudden the woman wants to sleep with you, this goes on for a while, and Joseph's like, I don't really want to do that. I don't really want to do that. I don't really want to do that. Well, then bam, all of a sudden he has to make the decision, and this is really the hard decision. I guess we're going to go over this because the Spirit's leading this way, but the hard decision for Joseph is, do I look like I'm being disobedient to my master by appearing as though I slept with this woman? Or do I actually disobey my master by sleeping with this woman and appear like I am favored and like I am still doing the right thing? And that is what's going on in Joseph, in my mind, is what's going on in Joseph's brain. He has two options. You can seem like you're doing the right thing, but really doing the wrong thing.
Right.
Or you can seem like you're doing the wrong thing, but really be doing the right thing. And Joseph clearly chooses the path of doing the right thing
Yep.
while looking like he did the wrong thing. She tears his coat, he takes off running, and then she that lie is enough to throw him right into prison cell. And who knows, God, again, there's not a lot of time here, but Joseph is like Groundhog Day number two, right? And
Yep.
some of those same elements that showed up in that previous story will show up again here, and we can go over that another time. But again, it's just interesting to watch how God moves people's lives, and so people that are far ahead of us, they're the ones that can tell us, hey, at one point in my life, this is what was going on, and I didn't know at that time that this was the hand of God moving, but now that I see after everything that's happened, it really was God's plan for me to be here. It really
Yeah.
was God's plan for this to take place, and I thought this was a terrible tragedy in my life, and I didn't want to have to go through that. But you know what? God used that to teach me how to get through other horrible trials in my life, or how to traverse other things, and maybe even help somebody, maybe give a testimony to somebody and say, hey, you can make it through depression, you can make it through marriage failure, you can make it through these things because God is orchestrating this in my life to show you, and you're the right person at the right time to give the right word of God to those people. That
Yep.
is really what God wants to do for us. So it's not necessarily about failure, though we don't want failure, though we don't want to sin. Sometimes uh, God allows these things to happen to catapult us into a new realm. Now, there's probably somebody saying, "Oh, wait, now you're saying that I can freely sin and that God is allowing that." I am not saying
Nope.
that. So check my words. Go back and re-listen to what I just told you. Okay, so here's the big question. Genesis 41. Why does Joseph interpret dreams then? He actually interprets two of Pharaoh's dreams, which happens to be cows, grain, and Egyptian imagery. Um, Joseph succeeds where all of Egypt's wise men, like he calls everybody into the room. Everybody that's ever known anything about anything is in that room. You got all the scientists in one corner. You got the magic guys in another corner. You got the dream interpreters in another corner. You got the religious people over here. These people over here, and nobody except for Joseph can give this interpretation. Now, a lot of people do this today. We say, well, out of all these religions, why are we going with this one religion? Well,
Yeah.
this is the right one. This is the right one. This one follows the narrative of the scripture. This is why we do what we do. And I don't know why I said that, but that's free. Okay. So Joseph succeeds where Egypt's wise men fail. But why? Well, one thing that one of the rabbis I like to frequent points out, Joseph lived the dream. This dream is all about his life, and we're going to go over that. Um, Genesis 41:16, uh, uh, Joseph says, "Not I, God will answer Pharaoh's peace." So Joseph understands descent before ascent, plenty before famine, reversal as design. His own life has trained him to read Pharaoh's dreams. Joseph doesn't just interpret symbols, he recognizes a structure. So there's one dream and it's essentially told twice. This Genesis 41:32. And the doubling of the dream means the matter is firmly decided by God. Joseph knows that this is because his own dreams were doubled. This is the payoff. Joseph understands Pharaoh's dreams because Joseph has been living inside of his own. The dream is real, right?
Right.
It's also a play on the name Israel, but anyway, most of you probably won't even get that. So this is where we're going to end. Not with resolution, but with tension. Yeah, I gave that one to them for free also. Questions. Why haven't we heard yet? Why doesn't Joseph send word home? Why doesn't Jacob search Egypt? Was Joseph testing his brothers or himself? Um, we're going to go over some of those questions next week. But really, when I heard this question, why didn't Joseph send a postcard home? I'm thinking like, Egypt really isn't far from Israel. I mean, if you look on the map, on the actual map, and you see where
Yeah.
modern day Egypt is and where modern day Israel is, they were not very far. It's probably a day's
No.
journey, give or
Yeah.
take, going through the land of the Philistines, which would be Gaza today. Um, it's roughly a day, maybe a day and a half walk. If you take a horse, probably less, and if you're on a bus or a car, you can probably get in there in several hours. Um, so the interesting thing is they don't go looking for this guy. Why don't they go looking for him? We'll answer that next week. Um, Jacob, I mean, is not even searching, and presumptively, it's because of what happened. How the brothers present Joseph's coat to their father.
Right. Yep.
Um,
They
so
present it as he's dead.
exactly, yeah, yeah. So I mean, that's probably why he didn't look. But Joseph, knowing he's not dead, could have sent a postcard home, and not only that, he becomes like the second in command. He could have totally sought out his dad.
Yep.
But there's so much here, and again, we'll talk about a lot of that next week. Um, well, we want to move toward the end, um, and this is kind of where we'll land next week, where Joseph says, "You intended evil against me, but God intended it for good." That sentence only makes sense after everything we walk through. So essentially, that's kind of where we want to end. We're roughly at 20 minutes. And really, we're gonna begin to see how this dream unfolds in
Right.
Joseph's life, and we'll answer some questions about the sale. We're going to answer some questions about Joseph's midlife. We'll probably kind of go back over Joseph and Potiphar's little spat they have there, and why he actually ends up in prison. And I kind of gave you a little clue here today. But that is essentially where we're going to land next week. And there's so much. Again, there's so much to share. We can't really share it all, and I think your brain would probably explode if we shared way too much. And also, we don't have much time. So,
Right.
thank you for being here. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoy it. And again, please come back, comment, let us know how you think, let us know how you feel, let us know what you're thinking. I know that some family members are watching this of mine, so I want to say hello to you, and or will be watching, and some friends of mine. So please comment, let us know how you're feeling, let us know what you're thinking, and that's all that I've got for today, though.
Well, I liked it. Nice and informative. Good job keeping it brief.
Yeah,
I've got to get ready to go to church. So,
absolutely. Yeah,
was
it's good. It's good as brief because we can only chew on so much, right? So,
right.
um,
Correct.
in a different setting, it could be longer, but this is good.
Yep. So, roughly where we're going next time? 42 through what?
42 through pretty much the end of the book, end of Genesis.
All right. Well,
42 on.
anybody who's reading along next week, 40, yep, chapter 42 through the end of Genesis.
Yep, you got a lot of
All right.
reading.
Yep. All right. Well, we will see you guys next time. Thank you very much.